when I first met you, you told me a very, very cool story about where you were born, which is not Colombia, even though you are born to Colombian parents. Could you tell us a little bit where you were born and why?
Well, my blood is Colombian, as you said, and my family is very much into astrology. That's been like part of the philosophy of the family and the fun talk. And the moment I was born, my father wanted me to be a Scorpio from spring. Because his theory was that Scorpio, it's a sign that is very passionate, and it's a very strong sign. And I'm really passionate with my objective. I've been very, very persistent and very cruel to myself, because I know it's difficult to do what I want to do, but I want to do it.
Y pensar que el tiempo te aguarda, que cuando empata el aire con las hojas vuelas más. Y se avivan esos días en el cuerpo afilando sentimiento como cuando brilla el mar. Dime en qué mundo tú duermes, dónde te puedo encontrar. Cambian las olas de rumbo, pero tu huella no quiere borrar. Y por más que intento no puedo. Altiva la suerte se va. ¿Cómo pedirle que vuelva? ¿Cómo pedirle que me lleve?
Where did your musical upbringing start? Where does it come from? What did you used to listen to as a child?
So I had my experience in my family was that I had my father all the time there, and he was very busy making us go to different lessons. And so I went to dance since I was 5 years old. I had a piano when I was 5 years old, and he was always trying to do things in a different way. I was in approximately 10 schools, around 10 schools, because we were changing all the time, and music was a part of my life from the body and from the connection I had with the music in my body.
I understand that you were pretty famous.
So I was never someone who people stopped in the streets. Never. I never felt famous or anything. But I was on the career of more commercial music. I was on the radio. I felt at that moment like those were really amazing opportunities, and I wanted to take those opportunities and learn. I was very young, so at that moment for me it was amazing when the first label wanted to sign me, and I was 22. I couldn't believe it. I was very surprised, because I was not looking for something like that. I wanted to do a rock and roll album and be more alternative and more underground. But I thought it was an opportunity that not everybody has, so I took it. I really enjoyed it. I was very happy when I heard my song in the radio. But at the moment, I was happy with it. And then in 2005, I changed. I started to grow in other types of music. I started to listen to other type of musicians. I started to do research on theater. I started to study screenplay writing, and I retired from that world. And so I started to walk my path to now. And it's going to be forever. It's in researching, changing, evolving, creating.
Alma, un viaje libre, altanera, entiéndeme, yo soy de andar, soy de brisa ligera, entiéndeme, yo soy de andar, soy de brisa ligera.
What is La Dama Oscura about? I know it's your fourth album, and it comes after 13 years of silence. What is this album about?
Well, La Dama Oscura, it's the breakthrough of my imagination. Because La Dama Oscura is the first album I'm producing, and it's the first album that I've done 100% in creatively, in creative terms.
Just for the record, let's put it out there. You wrote all your lyrics, all your melodies, and all of your arrangements. Am I right?
It's the first work that I really have control on, because the ones that I did before were albums that were controlled by labels or controlled by other producers, and this one I was the one who said, okay, this stays or this doesn't stay. So that's directing. So I was like a film director. I was trying to deliver what I feel in a dark world, in a world of freedom. Because for me, the subconscious and darkness is the way we go with what we feel without judging ourselves. This kind of like sensation of power, of being by yourself in a very big castle in front of the sea, and you have a cape, and the cape has a purple color and is in silk material. And this type of imagery lets me go inside a part of me that needs to talk. And most of the time, this woman talks about other lives, about grief, about women power too, and also talks about melancholy.
Do you think you might be that woman later on when you're older, or do you think you were that woman in a previous life? Do you believe in reincarnation, and do you believe that somehow you are layers upon layers of that woman or versions of that woman?
Well, I sometimes think It's a spirit that was in Argentina. Argentina is so much into drama because tango is very dramatic. We don't have that in Colombia. It has some of the savage part of Colombia, of the chaos and also the violence, I would say. But she takes that from Mexico as well, because sometimes she's like a drug dealer. but deep inside, she has an injury.
This album is brilliant, in my very subjective opinion, and Ese Amor is, it just grabs at your heart and it just takes a huge bite of it. And I love what you told me about how you wrote this song. It's an injury that is centuries old.
When I was visiting my aunt, one of my aunts.
In Colombia?
In Colombia, in Bogota. And there was my grandmother as well. And then I woke up and I had this bolero melody in my mouth. It was like I had the whole song in my mind when I just woke up. And I sang the song to my grandmother. And the connection I did there was living her life in a way, because the story of my grandmother is very tragic. She left my grandfather with 6 children, and she left him in a way, and she never found love again. So I felt that grief of her. I shared that with that song.
What is it about vampires that you connect to?
For me, the vampire is a symbol of the 2 heads of the beast. We have 2 parts of ourselves always. There's a side of us that is very dark and doesn't have any morals, and it's more the animal, and it's also what in Catholic religion say is the devil side, no, the evil side, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, something like that, no, and there is also the more
restrained.
Exactly. The restrained side. So the vampire has that tension in itself. The vampire is the part of us that is totally free and wants to go for the kill. That part of us that we fear, but at the same time that we like. It also happens with desire, because most of the time passion and desire want to have danger involved.
Siempre que te pregunto que cómo, cuándo y dónde, tú siempre me respondes quizá, quizá, quizás.
Siempre que te pregunto que cuándo, cómo y dónde, tú siempre me respondes quizás, quizás.
Is La Dama Oscura a vampire?
La Dama Oscura, yeah, sometimes. Sometimes she's a vampire. Because it's like, okay, it's my time to be free, you know? It's the subconscious, it's the darkness where you can really talk about your dreams and not judge them. Because judgment is what stops you. And so being totally free, for me, it's something that has been a subject to study in my life. Like freedom, what does it take to be free? Can I be totally free or not?
The first thing I go to with vampires is their immortality, is the fact they don't die. I love that. So where do you stand on that?
The act of creation is the act of communicating with the rest of the world and being part of it and being eternal. Because death and life itself, it's something that you think when you're human, but if you're part of everything, there is no death, no. It's like it's a forever nowness, that it's always keeping things in movement, and you're part of all of it. When you're creating, it's the feeling you get from that moment. It doesn't have a time. It's timeless. It's all about being born again and killing that part that was not you anymore. Finding beauty, it's a way of understanding the world. It's a way to understand who you are.